Hello everyone, so welcome back. I'm Douglas Johnson, non-dual teacher, meditation teacher, yoga teacher, certified Kilobeat Inquiries facilitator, ordained minister, and if you like talking about spirituality, anything related to yoga, spirituality, truth, spiritual philosophy, you might really enjoy my channel, so please stick around. Today I wanted to talk about a series of talks that I want to give over the coming weeks. They may be sequential, they might be out of order. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do it yet. But the topic is on being human. And if you saw my last talk, I talked a little bit about 3 ways I might be able to help you. And the first one, the first stage of the 3, was just what I like to call proper inputs. We as human beings, we're just designed to interact with our environment in a certain way. When I say environment, I mean food. So again, inputs: food, movement, socialization, rest, sleep, things like that. They're kind of, I know you may never have been told that, and that's why I'm giving this talk. You may never have heard this before. They're really essentially non-negotiables. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule. So there may be somebody who's perfectly happy and perfectly healthy who's missing one or more of these inputs. But generally speaking, we need all of these inputs if we're really to optimize our health and happiness. So for me, this is like baseline. If you aren't already doing these things, then you may have issues. And I'll just outline some of those issues, what they might be. So one thing that can come up without proper inputs is depression. So if you're struggling with depression, you don't feel good, you don't feel motivated, well, it could be one or more of these inputs aren't being met. You aren't doing one of these things. And, these things include exercise, socializing in the right way, getting plenty of rest at the kind of the right time, things like that. And it can get rather nuanced, but I'm probably going to focus on kind of the big things in the big picture. Another thing that is related is sort of anxiety, a feeling of anxiousness or nervousness that doesn't go away. Various health issues. So again, if you aren't doing these things that are going to be outlined in this series of talks, then you may want to start doing these things and then see if your issue resolves itself completely or doesn't improve. And then you can look at like modern medical treatments. I want to make a very important point. Modern medicine is new. I'm going to repeat that again. Most of the treatments you're going to get in modern medicine are new. Okay, that doesn't automatically mean better or worse. What it can mean when something is new is it's untested. Okay, I know that we like to believe that the science community tests everything and that it's perfectly safe by the time it gets presented to the public. But if you're my age and you've been paying attention at all, you know that that's not always true. You know that there are instances where drugs have been approved and then later have been proven to be very harmful and then were taken off the shelves, and sometimes people were paid, lots of money and compensation for that. So the fact that this can even happen once means that it could happen more than once, right? So I'm not, again, anti-medicine or anti-modern or anti-new, But the one thing we have to always keep in mind is when something is new, we don't have the test of generations of human beings using it safely. So most of the healing, older healing methods, and the things, certainly the things I'm going to outline here, are generally things that humans have been doing as long as humans have been around. So again, these things are proper inputs. When you take care of your pet stays healthy. When you are not feeding your pet well, when you're not exercising your pet properly, your pet might get depressed, your pet might get unhealthy. Your body is really no different. So various health issues, again, can be resolved by taking care of these things, these sort of baseline things. Aches and pains in your body as well. So I find that when I am doing these things on a regular basis, taking care of these things, the aches and pains in my body are less or almost none. I feel really, really good in my body. When I'm not able to do these things, at least the age that I am, these aches and pains start to show up. So it may be somewhat counterintuitive that we might think, well, I have aches and pains from moving. Often as we get older, I think that that's the thinking, is I have aches and pains, so I'm not going to move. My experience has been the exact opposite, that if I can move more, then generally the aches and pains go away. So when I was younger, I didn't experience a lot of body aches or pains. Now I'm almost 50, I'm feeling more of that. But again, if I can find the time to move, which is one of the important inputs that I'm going to go over in this series, then the aches and pains go away, okay? So various health issues, aches and pains, insomnia, right? This is a big one. I think statistically insomnia is on the rise. More and more people are having trouble sleeping. Now there can be various reasons for this, and sleep is one of the important inputs, right? So we'll probably talk about that and some suggestions that I might make. But insomnia is another thing that can be addressed through proper inputs. So the inputs can affect one another, right? If I'm exercising and moving enough, then I'm probably going to be tired by the end of the day. This also has to do with diet, right? So if I'm consuming too much caffeine later in the day, then I might not be tired even though I exercised, right? So it all fits together. And again, these are things that very often in the past as human beings, they were just naturally occurring. This is why they're not in the ancient scriptures. They don't generally talk about a lot of stuff. Like ancient scriptures don't say, well, you need to walk every day. And probably reason for that is that was a given. That was a given. In Jesus's day and Muhammad's day, when the Yoga Sutras were written, it was a given. You were going to walk. You were going to walk 10,000 steps plus. But now I actually have to get on YouTube and say, hey guys, if you're not walking, you need to walk. So that's definitely one of the things we'll discuss. Lethargy, right? Again, kind of goes with, it can go with depression, low energy. This is a thing that many people after COVID had. Brain fog as well, right? So having sort of this feeling of not being very clear, a lot of this mentally clear, a lot of this actually can be addressed with the things that I'm going to be talking about. Now again, nothing I'm going to discuss is a cure-all for everything. And there can be different causes for different issues. But again, my advice is if you're not doing all the things that I'm going to discuss already, try those if you can and see if whatever issue you're struggling with doesn't get better or completely disappear by doing these things. Now, these are all going to be lifestyle things. And I know lifestyle can be tough, but I'm going to try and break it down into chunks and make it manageable so you can work your way up to doing these things, okay? So insomnia, lethargy, inflammation is another one. So I really hope that this series of talks will be helpful for you. These are things that I do myself. Some of them I'm better at doing, regularly. Some of them are a struggle for me as well. But I found them helpful. And again, these are not things that originate with me. So most of the things I'm sharing with you are from scientists, from doctors, biohackers, people who have access to research, people who have done research directly, people who've done meta-analysis of research. So please keep that in mind. I may not always cite my references. It's just kind of time consuming, and honestly, I'm just not that interested. If you're really need something like that, then I might not be your source. So these are things that, again, I apply myself. These are things that I've learned from other people who are way, way, way smarter than me. Usually they are things where I see, again, an overlap or a confluence of things. So usually I'm not going to share with something with you that I've heard from only one source. Usually I've heard this from 2 and probably 3 different sources before I suggest it to you. And again, usually I've heard it from 3 sources and then I've tried it myself. So again, in reference to my last talk, this is going to be all about raising your baseline up. Okay, so again, this is sort of the basics. This is where you want to get yourself, and then if you're really interested in going deeper, for many people, this is where they will stop. They'll feel happy and healthy, relatively speaking, and then they will stop there. If you aren't satisfied, or if this doesn't address your issue, then again, sometimes deeper spiritual work is necessary or is desirable. You just may have a spiritual fire, like you want to discover the truth, or you want to know God on a intimate level. You want to know the divine. You want to know your own divine nature. Well, this stuff I'm going to talk about in this series isn't going to help you with that. Well, I shouldn't say that. It could lay a foundation from which you can do that. But these things that I'll talk about in this series isn't going to be about that specifically. This is going to be about raising your baseline. The reason I'm talking about this today is I find that more and more people, it's relevant for more and more people. And again, the reason it's becoming more and more relevant is we're getting further and further from a natural way of living. So I hope this makes sense. A lot of these things are just things that we lost. They were things that were given. If you were a human, you were doing these things. They were just required of being human. But because of the modern technology and modern lifestyle, and modern schedule that we have, a lot of us have lost these things, and they seem to be getting more and more scarce in a sense. So these are things that we have to become conscious of, and then we actually have to seek out. We have to decide, okay, I'm going to do this. Okay. All right. So keep an eye out in the coming weeks, and hopefully this series will be really helpful for you. You may already know some of these things. A lot of these things are things I've been talking about for a while. So if you're attending class or you've listened to my talks, you probably heard me mention some of these things. But again, I'll go into maybe a little more detail. Also, if you're not on my Patreon page, please check that out, because I will post videos from some of the people that I got this information from. So It's sort of like a reminder of what I'm talking about here, a preview of some of the things I'm talking about, and also another source. So again, I don't always cite the sources that I got this information from. I don't always remember, to be honest. I read a lot, listen to a lot of books. I watch a lot of videos and stuff. So I'm sifting through a lot of information, and certain things will stick, and those are the things that I try, and those are the things I share with you. So anyway, if you're not already on Patreon, please check it out. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month, and I think there's even a free option. And I try and make all my content available on a donation basis, so you don't even need to contribute anything, and you can have access to all of that. That's just the best place for me to sort of host community stuff right now, is on Patreon. I also have updates about live events. I'm starting to do retreats again. So even if you live somewhere other than in the Atlanta area or Georgia, you might want to come in for a retreat. There's a lovely retreat center, and retreats can be truly, truly powerful and transformative. So hopefully, we're doing our first retreat in August in 2 years, and hopefully we'll have plenty more to come after that. All right, everyone, so keep an eye out. And as always, if there's any way you think I can be of service to you or help you, please reach out and let me know, and we'll see if we can connect and get you any help that I can provide. All right, until next time, namaste and have a beautiful day.